Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Carly Spencer clutched the steering wheel of the unremarkable black SUV, her knuckles white against the leather. The night air hung heavy over Port Charles, thick with the promise of rain and the kind of danger that had defined her life for generations. Lucas Jones, her adoptive brother, sat beside her, his face grim with determination under the dashboard lights. The two had always had a complicated bond, forged by Bobby Spencer's love, years of family drama, and the constant chaos of General Hospital. But tonight they were united by a single urgent mission: rescue Jocelyn Jacks, Carly's daughter and Lucas' niece, from the clutches of whoever is holding her captive on Spoon Island. "Tell me again why we're not calling Jason or Sonny," Lucas asked, checking the Glock he had reluctantly agreed to carry. As a doctor, family was more important to him than weapons. He had recently returned to Port Charles, rebuilding his life after personal upheavals, only to be thrown back into the Spencer Corinthos whirlwind. Carly looked at him with fierce eyes. "Because this is personal." Brennan's involvement drew Joss into the WSB mess. "She's been playing spy games, convinced that she can handle it. According to my sources, she is currently being held in Windermere with Liesl Albrecht. When we involve the guys, it becomes a mob war. I need this quiet, Lucas. Inside and out. You're familiar with the tunnels from your childhood. We take advantage of that." Lucas nodded, his face clouded with doubt. Jocelyn, like her mother, had always been a strong young woman navigating love, loss, and now international intrigue. Carly's romance with Dex Heller had ended painfully, and her recruitment into the WSB by Jack Brennan had come as a devastating revelation. Mother and daughter had fought bitterly over the secrets and dangers. But blood ran deep. Carly would walk through fire for her children, and Lucas, ever the devoted uncle, would not leave her alone. They parked the SUV in a secluded area near the island's access point, the water lapping ominously on the shore. A small boat was waiting, arranged through one of Carly's discreet contacts. The crossing was tense and silent except for the hum of the motor and distant thunder. Windermere loomed ahead, its Gothic towers cutting into the stormy sky like a villain's lair from a forgotten horror film. The Cassadine estate had witnessed numerous betrayals, kidnappings, and murders. It may make a bigger claim tonight. "Stay low," Carly whispered as they slipped through a hidden entrance into the tunnels Lucas recognized. The passages were damp and dimly lit by emergency lighting, echoing with their careful footsteps. Lucas led the way, his doctor's steady hands guiding them past familiar landmarks from his youth. Holidays, family secrets, and the never-ending Cassidy-Newman-Spencer feuds that had scarred generations all came to mind. Jocelyn paced in a locked room deep within the mansion, her heart racing. The WSB mission had quickly devolved into disaster. She had underestimated the security risks when she was sent to gather information on a volatile arms dealer linked to old Cassidy networks. She now shared her prison cell with Dr. Liesl Albrecht, an eccentric and dangerous woman with a complicated relationship with the family. Liesl sat on a worn-out cot, fiddling with a hairpin turn tool. "You're too impulsive, girl," Liesl muttered in a thick accent, charging in without a full backup. Typical Spencer blood. Joss glared at her, twisting the ring on her finger, the one she had dropped earlier as a breadcrumb in the main house, hoping Lucas or someone who knew her well would recognize it. "I needed to take action. Brennan's games endangered everyone, including my mother. If I can get out of here, I will be able to expose the entire operation." Footsteps approached their door. Joss had frozen. Their captors, hired muscle connected to a shadowy figure pulling strings from afar, checked on them on occasion. However, this time the voices were different. A whispered urgency. Then a familiar voice broke through the lock mechanism. "Joss? Are you still in there?" Carly's voice was low but distinctive. "Mom!" Joss exhaled, dashed to the door. Liesl joined her, her eyes focused. Lucas worked quickly on the lock with the tools he'd brought, his hands surprisingly deft after years of surgical precision. The door opened with a click. Despite the danger, Joss flew into her mother's arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We have to move," Lucas said, glancing down the corridor. "I heard guards speaking. They're expecting reinforcements from the mainland." Carly, Lucas, Joss, and a reluctant but cooperative Liesel returned to the tunnels. Relief only lasted a short time. Alarms sounded suddenly, and red lights flashed as security systems were activated. Someone tripped a sensor. "Run!" CARLY yelled, grasping Joss's hand. They sprinted through the twisting passages, Lucas leading the way with his knowledge of side exits. Behind them, gunshots echoed, first warning shots, then closer. The tunnels led to a lower level near the boathouse, but guards blocked the primary path. They ducked into a storage room, their hearts pounding. Joss caught her breath, her adrenaline pumping. "This is my fault. I should have listened to Brennan about staying low after the last surgery." CARLY cupped her daughter's face. "There is no time for blaming. We are going out together. Family sticks together, no matter what spy nonsense you get into." Liesel, ever pragmatic, discovered an old vent access point. "Go this way. It leads to the cliffs." Risky but better than bullets. They crawled through tight spaces before emerging on a rocky ledge overlooking the water. Rain began to fall, slicking the stones. Their boat bobbed below, but more guards converged from the main house. Lucas fired a warning shot to buy time, his face pale. He despised the violence, but his love for his niece trumped all. A fierce shootout ensued. CARLY, who had been exposed to gunfire since her days as a mob queen, returned fire with the precision of a survival instinct. JOSS, who had been trained by the WSB, moved stealthily and disarmed one attacker in close combat. Lucas dragged Liesel into cover, his doctor's mind already calculating potential injuries. "We're surrounded!" Lucas yelled as new men appeared on the ridge above. CARLY's arm was grazed by a bullet during the chaos. She hissed in pain but kept fighting. JOSS screamed for her mother, the sound harsh. They fought their way down to the boat, with Liesel surprisingly agile for her age. Lucas started the engine while the women provided cover. The ship roared away from Spoon Island, bullets pinging off the hull. The waves churned violently as the storm raged on. JOSS bandaged CARLY's wound with strips from her shirt, tears mixed with rain. "I thought I'd lost you. After everything, Dad, Dex, the WSB. I can't afford to lose you as well." CARLY smiled weakly. "You're stuck with me, child. Spencer women are survivors." Lucas navigated the dangerous waters, keeping an eye out for pursuers. Liesel kept an eye out for injuries, her medical background a reluctant asset. "The bullet is through and through. There is pressure here. You'll survive, CARLY, but we need a hospital soon." Their escape on the island triggered a larger alert. The captors, working for a faction linked to international intrigue and old grudges against the Spencers, organized boats. A high-speed chase began across the harbor. Lucas tested the small craft's limits, weaving through buoys and choppy swells. A single pursuing vessel closed in. JOSS traded fire, her WSB experience shining through. She hit their engine with a lucky shot, causing the boat to veer away. Cheers erupted briefly, but another threat loomed. A larger ship cutting them off near the Port Charles docks. "Hold on!" Lucas yelled as he tried a daring maneuver, cutting sharply toward hidden coves. The impact happened anyway. A collision that sent everyone sprawling. The small boat filled up with water and began to list severely. CARLY kept JOSS safe as debris flew. Liesel grabbed the side and cursed it in German. They abandoned the ship and swam the final distance to shore in the pouring rain. Exhaustion was clawing at them. Lucas assisted in getting CARLY and JOSS onto a rocky beach on the outskirts of town. Sirens wailed in the distance, indicating either help or more danger. Huddled beneath a rocky overhang, the group assessed their situation. CARLY's arm bled steadily, JOSS had bruises and a sprained wrist, Lucas had a twisted ankle, and Liesel complained of ribs but maintained her sharp tongue. "We are still alive. That's all for now. But those men will not stop." JOSS wiped away tears. "If this becomes public, the WSB will retract its statement. Brennan manipulated me, Mom. Recruited me to settle old scores, but the plan backfired. I tossed the ring, hoping Lucas would find it. I guess family intuition works." Lucas squeezed her shoulder. "Yes, it did. I recognized it right away at Sidwell's place. Let us right here after CARLY filled me in." CARLY leaned against the rock, pain etched in her features but her resolve unbroken. "We made it off the island. We now communicate quietly with Jason. No cops until we know who is pulling the strings. This isn't over. The hours flew by as they made their way to a safe house, one of Sunny's old properties that Carly still had access to. Medical supplies were raided. Lucas stitched Carly's wound with steady hands, drawing on his JOSS expertise. Liesl assisted, resulting in a temporary truce in the face of common peril. Conversations flowed in the dim light, with Josh recounting her WSB missions, moral ambiguities, and fear of losing herself. Carly expressed her terror at the prospect of her daughter in that world, mirroring her own past mistakes with Sunny and the mob. "I wanted better for you," Carly said, her voice cracking. "Not this never-ending cycle of danger." Joss embraced her. "I know, but it was my choice. To protect my family in my own unique way. Like you always have." Lucas paced, his mind on his own life, his complicated relationships, his work at the hospital, the pull of family despite his efforts to stay out of it. "We botched parts of this," he admitted openly. "The alarms and the chase. But Joss, we got you out. That's what counts." Dawn broke in tentative safety. Anna Devane had resurfaced, offering potential WSB insights, according to reports received via a burner phone. Jason was quietly making his way there. However, the captor's boss, a figure linked to Valentine Cassidy's lingering influence or possibly a new threat, remained at large. Whispers suggested that the rescue had revealed larger plots involving Spoon Island's secrets and international players. As they waited, the tension increased. Everyone was on edge when they heard a knock on the safe house door. Lucas peered out, his gun ready. Jason Morgan was stone-faced and armed. Relief spread throughout the room. "Are you okay?" Jason asked Carly, his eyes softening as he saw her injury. "We survived," she replied. "Barely. But Joss is back." The debriefing was intense. Joss described her captivity and the intelligence she had gathered prior to being apprehended. Liesl revealed some of her own reasons for being there, including old alliances and betrayals. Lucas provided medical updates, insisting that everyone be checked out at GH under the radar. Survival, however, came at a cost. Carly's wound would heal, but trust issues remained. Joss was facing debriefings and potential WSB repercussions. Lucas pondered his role in the family's chaos once more. Port Charles never slept. Rumors of gunfire near Windmere sparked concern from both the PCPD and rivals. In the days that followed, the group grew closer together. Family dinners at Greystone Manor, where Lucas had recently stayed, turned into strategy sessions. Joss confronted Brennan in a tense, private meeting demanding answers. Carly relied on old friends while striving for normalcy by running the Metro Court and supporting her children. But the question lingered. Would they actually survive the fallout? New threats surfaced, including a mysterious caller threatening Joss and hints of vengeance from the escaped guards. Liesl disappeared back into her own schemes, owing them a debt. Lucas threw himself into hospital shifts, saving lives by day and protecting family by night. Carly and Joss sat on the docks one evening, watching the water, as mother and daughter reflected. "We almost didn't make it," Joss explained softly. "But we did. Together." Carly nodded, her arm still bandaged. "That's the Spencer way. Messy, dangerous, yet unbreakable." Lucas proved it as well. Lucas joined them later and shared a rare laugh amidst the tension. The rescue was botched in some areas, nearly costing them everything, but it reaffirmed their bonds. Port Charles would throw more curveballs. New romances, corporate battles, and medical crises at GH. For the time being, however, they could breathe freely. The storm had passed, but another was on its way, much like in a soap opera. Whispers of a larger conspiracy involving the WSB and Cassadine remnants kept them on guard. Carly vowed to protect her daughter's future. Lucas promised to be a dependable uncle, and Joss approached her dual life with caution. Together they rescued Joss. Today, survival was their victory. In General Hospital's fast-paced world, tomorrow always brought new drama. But the Spencers and Joneses were ready, forged stronger in the fire of that harrowing night on Spoon Island. Lucas followed suit. The lock was very heavy. Lucas investigated the surrounding area and discovered a rusted metal pipe. This should work. 3 strong blows shattered the locking mechanism. The door sprang open. Joss flung herself into Carly's arms. For a brief moment, nothing else mattered. Carly clutched her daughter tightly. "You're fine. I expected you to come. Carly's eyes welled up with tears. Lucas smiled relievedly. I'll always come. Then footsteps echoed below. The reunion was over in an instant. They know we're here, Lucas explained. The sound of shouting echoed throughout the structure. Several doors burst open. Someone shouted orders. Joss took a step back. What should we do? We leave, Carly responded. Unfortunately, leaving proved to be much more difficult than arriving. The stairwell had already been blocked. Voices were coming from both directions. Lucas quickly evaluated their options. There's a fire escape. Outside the nearest window, a narrow metal staircase clung to the structure. It seemed unstable. However, it was their only chance. They ventured out into the storm. Rain pelted their faces. Wind howled across the waterfront. The metal stairs groaned beneath them. Gunshots rang out about halfway down. Sparks erupted from the railing. Move! Lucas exclaimed. They descended as quickly as possible. There were more shots fired afterwards. The stairwell shook violently. Then a section near the top broke. Metal wailed. The entire structure shifted sideways. Joss lost her balance. Carly grabbed her arm in time. For a terrifying moment, Joss dangled above the pavement. Mom! I've got you! Lucas leaned against the railing and reached for Joss. They drew her back onto the stairs. The damaged structure kept collapsing behind them. They dashed downward and jumped to the ground seconds before the upper half crashed into the alleyway. The earth shook from the impact. But there wasn't time to celebrate. Several kidnappers emerged from the warehouse. Lucas spotted a car parked nearby. Run! They sprinted through the rain. Bullets landed on the pavement around them. The kidnappers gained ground. Carly's lungs were burning. Joss had difficulty keeping up with the pace. Lucas remained close, refusing to let either of them fall behind. They got to the vehicle. Locked. Seriously? Carly exclaimed. Lucas shattered the driver's window with a nearby brick. Get in. The engine roared to life. They accelerated away as gunfire erupted behind them. For the first time in the night, hope seemed possible. Unfortunately, their ordeal had not ended. Behind them, a black SUV pulled onto the road. And then another. They're following us, Joss stated. Lucas examined the mirror. Yeah. The chase sped through rain-soaked streets. The kidnappers made no indication of giving up. One car pulled alongside them. A man leaned out the passenger window. Lucas swerved abruptly. In the end, the SUV collided with a guardrail. Nonetheless, the second vehicle remained. Carly grabbed the dashboard. Can it get any worse? The response arrived seconds later. A truck appeared ahead of them. Lucas yanked the wheel. The vehicle spun. Everything happened in an instant. Tires screech. Glasses shattering. Twisting metal. Then there was silence. They all remained motionless for several seconds. Rain continued to fall. Steam escaped from the damaged engine. First, Joss opened her eyes. Mom! I am here. Lucas! A weak groan came from the front seat. I've had better nights. A sense of relief washed over them. They were actually alive. Only barely. The vehicle was severely damaged as a result of the accident. Lucas attempted to open his door. It wouldn't move. His shoulder throbbed with pain. Something was wrong. Very incorrect. The pursuing SUV eventually came to a halt nearby. The kidnappers were nearing. We have to move, Lucas stated. You're hurt, Carly responded. Move right now. Argue later. Carly and Joss assisted him out of the wreckage. The three of them stumbled towards an abandoned building nearby. The difficulty of each step increased. Lucas was bleeding. Carly saw it. Still, he refused to slow down. Inside the building, they used old furniture to block a doorway. The kidnappers appeared moments later. The pounding began immediately. The wood had splintered. The air was filled with dust. Joss seemed terrified. Carly put an arm around her. It's going to be okay, she said, unsure whether she believed it. Lucas slumped against a wall. His face had paled. You need a hospital, Joss stated. He mustered a faint smile. Probably. The barricade broke. Another impact ensued. And then another. The attackers were approaching. Suddenly, distant sirens pierced the darkness. Everyone stopped moving. The kidnappers ceased pounding. The first siren was joined by several more. Then flashing lights appeared from the broken windows. Police. Someone had finally pinpointed their location. The attackers fled. Within minutes, police had surrounded the area. The nightmare had ended. Or so it appeared. Lucas was rushed to a stretcher by paramedics. Carly remained beside him the entire time. Joss paid close attention. At the hospital, the wait seemed never-ending. Doctors disappeared through swinging doors. Nurses hurried through crowded hallways. Each minute felt like an hour. Joss sat alongside Carly. Neither spoke very much. They were exhausted from fear. Finally, a surgeon appeared. Carly rose to her feet immediately. "So how is he?" The doctor gave a reassuring smile. "He's stable." Both women felt relieved. None of them had expected to go through this again. Joss eventually awoke and approached. Lucas shook his head, saying, "You saved me. We saved each other." Carly nodded. That's the truth. The days that followed yielded answers. The kidnapping plot was dismantled. Arrests were made. Evidence has been recovered. The people who are responsible will face justice. But for Carly, the legal victory was far less important than something simpler. Her daughter was still alive. Lucas was still alive. That was enough. A week later, the three of them were standing near the waterfront, where the nightmare had begun. The weather could not have been any more different. The sun sparkled on the water. The storm gave way to a gentle breeze. Everything seemed to be more calm, healthier, hopeful. Joss directed his gaze to the horizon. "It feels strange to be back here." "Is it good strange or bad?" Lucas inquired. "A little of both." "That is fair," Carly said, slipping an arm around her daughter. "What matters is that we're standing here together." Joss replied, "Thanks to both of you." Lucas said modestly, "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Carly replied quietly. "Not everyone would." He fixed her gaze. Both remained silent for a brief moment. The experience had transformed them all. Danger had a way of stripping away distractions and revealing what was truly important. Family, loyalty, love, the bonds that withstood even the darkest nights. As the sun set over the harbor, Joss realized something significant. They had come dangerously close to losing everything. Nevertheless, they had emerged stronger. It wasn't because they were fearless, not because they were unbeatable, but when the time came, they refused to leave each other. The future was uncertain. New threats would eventually emerge. They would face new challenges. Life never stays simple for long. Still, as they stood together, watching the fading light, uncertainty didn't seem as terrifying. Because no matter what happened next, they knew one thing for certain. When one of them was in danger, the others would run. No matter the risk, no matter the cost. And if fate ever forced them into another impossible battle, they would fight it in the same way they had done this one.